A crisp sun shone over Cedar Hollow, melting the final bits of ice from the bare trees. Squinting through the trees, you could just make out a narrow path leading to the woods in the south. People hardly traveled this route, but today a horse and cart rattled down the road. Riding atop the bench was a girl and a boy, both with striking red hair. The girl was named Molly, and the boy, her brother, Kip. They were riding to their deaths. A lanky shepherd they talked to muttered something ominous about the Sourwoods.
The Windsors? I just assumed lead my flock into a lion's den.
Be that as it may, it's where we need to be. The Windsors were expecting us last week.
Then they can wait a little longer. My advice, go back to whatever country you came from. The Sourwoods is no place for anyone.
What are the Sourwoods, Malls?
You didn't know about the Sourwoods? Why, it's the whole forest of lemon trees, lemon blossoms, lemon moss, and lemon weeds.
Kip and Molly had been riding nonstop for 4 days. It had been days since they've eaten, and their clothes were drenched in mud.
Maybe all these folks is right. Maybe we should turn back to town, or go back home.
To hear you talk, a person would think Ma and I raised a pair of quitters. We'll find the place soon enough.
First they heard their song, a sonorous drone that crept around the bend, slow and seductive. It was an old mannequin woman, not much taller than Kip, seated in the middle of the crossroads, singing to herself. The woman was hunched over a strange instrument almost the size of her body. The instrument had a crank at one end, and when she turned the handle, deep notes came out that Molly imagined what it would sound like if honeybees could sing.
You think she's a witch?
If that's a witch, she ain't much of one, hardly a wart on her. Only one way to know for sure. Pardon me, Mum, are you a witch or not?
I fear my answer will disappoint.
So you ain't a witch?
Not everything old and ugly is wicked. The name's Hester Kettle. I'm the storyteller in these parts. I travel here and about, trading my songs for lodgings and food and odd things.
What's a storyteller doing all the way out here, on foot no less?
I've got no horse, and new stories are rare in these parts. 2 foreigner children riding south is a story if I ever heard one.
If you don't mind, my brother and me are expected somewhere this morning.
You're headed to the Windsor home, is that right?
Don't you know him?
I've only met him once, and he was younger than you. He was shipped off to live in the city and surprisingly just moved back to the manor last autumn.
We're a little turned around at the moment. We asked some farmers what roads to take, but they were a bit shy to answer.
Folks here think they're doing you a good turn by not telling you the way. None of them want to be the one who steered 2 innocent kids to the Sourwoods.
And what's so bad about the Sourwoods?
Why, everyone in Cellar Hollow knows to keep clear of that place. Children are warned off by their parents, who were warned off by their parents, and so on as far back as any soul could remember.
So you don't know?
First-hand accounts are rare, but most folks claim to know someone who knew someone full enough to venture across the river into these woods. They say the Sourwood changes folks, brings out something horrible in it. And then there's the other thing. Tragic, really.
What's the other thing?
Just a rumor. Why, half of its story is made up just to earn a meal. You'll be fine.
So you'd be willing to point us the way, then?
I would, but I might ask a favor in return.
We got no money.
Nothing so large as that, dearie. I only ask that you come around and tell me a story or two about what you find there. Ever since the Windsors moved back to the Hollows, been abuzz with curiosity. A woman of my trade could eat for a month on that information.
That I can do.
Ain't 3 miles as the crow flies. Follow the sound of the river, and if you hit a fork, take the way that looks overgrown. Sourwoods is the road less traveled by far. When you come to an old bridge, well, you're right on top of it.
Molly wondered about what might be awaiting her and her brother at the house in the Sourwoods, and what sort of story she might bring back for the strange old woman. She wished, silently, that it would be a happy one.